Alright, we are working on the Waterfall and Pockets mini album. This is in the beginning series. This is album number 2. So we're going to go through the album and then work on the cover and the pages and decorating. So the tutorial and the kits for this album is on my blog at www.webofcreativity.net, and the links to purchase either the tutorial or the kits are in the description below. I used Graphic 45's Penny Doll collection for this album. And alright, so we're gonna go ahead and go through it. I still need to decorate some stuff, but you'll get the idea. So we have a large tag on the side. So the front of the pages has a hanger, and this is the Waterfall version, or Waterfall side. And I did take advantage of the paper collection of the dolls and did cut out some of the doll pieces, added some hangers for the clothes, which is optional. You don't have to fussy cut all the pieces out. And then we have a double pocket on the back, one with a short tag and then one with a long tag. So at the end of the video, I'll go through all the pages, or you can see the preview video that goes through all the pages, the 3 that I did. So I did, I think this is the sister page, and then the friends page, and then this is the dad page. And he is very tall. I couldn't put him in a pocket. His head stuck out. So he just gets paper clipped in. And, alright, so we're going to get started, and we're going to work on the cover, then the pages, and then the matting. Alright. Alright, it's time for the cover. The cover is 2 pieces of the same size for the front and back, and then the spine piece. This one's going to get cover just a little bit different than the first album in the beginner series, number 1. So this one's number 2, and I've already added tape to the backs of all my chipboard pieces. And so I do have my sheets cut out. I have 1 piece for the front cover, and then 1 piece for the back spine and a little bit of the front cover, and then a piece to separate them. Now this piece I punched using a scallop punch from EK Success. I'm not sure which one this one is called, but any scallop punch should really work. Or any punch that you have in your supplies that you want to use. So I'm going to start with covering the front cover. Now this one is going to get flush to the left edge. I'm going to flip it over. So I'm going to attach it to the back side. So it's going to get flush to the left edge, and it's going to leave an overhang on the other 3 edges. Now this paper is upside down, but the other side's not really directional. So just be careful with that. If you have directional paper, make sure you're attaching it the right way. So I added 2-sided tape. I'm removing the tape backing. So I'm going to do flush I know I turned it again. I'm eyeballing the top and bottom so I can center it. So when I flip it over, this will be the front side. I'm getting my bone folder out just to run it over to give it a good stick. Next, I'm going to attach my decorative strip. I'm going to use my ruler. Not all the directions, all the measurements and step-by-step directions are in the tutorial. Alright, then I'm going to add a piece of tape to my edge here. Flush. So I'm going to, let me turn it the other way. So I added it flush to the edge, and then I'm going to get my back cover sheet. Now I did ink the edge of this and this sheet using Vintage Photo Distress ink. Vintage Photo works really well with Graphic 45 paper. So on the back cover sheet I did one piece of tape along this edge and one along this, and then I'm going to attach. Just measuring it to make sure it's right. And then before I put it down, I'm going to make sure I have the correct measurement at the top. I'm going to turn all the way around so I can get a better look. And then I'm just checking to make sure it looks even. Alright, now that we got that part, I'm going to flip it over to the back side so we can attach the spine piece next. I need my spacer. Alright, my spacer is 2 pieces of chipboard. Is what I use for a spacer. So I just hold the two pieces of chipboard against the edge of the front cover, and then line this one up, your spine piece even with the top and the bottom up against your spacer. And when you remove that spacer, you have that area for your front cover to bend. So I'm going to remove the tape backing from the spine piece. Again, line it up so it's the same as the top and the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing with the back side using the spacer. I always check before I attach anything, just in case something looks off or needs to be trimmed. I always check once or twice. Yeah, you never can be too careful. All right, so again, get my spacer, line it up to the top and the bottom of the spine piece. I'm going to be off camera just a little bit, making sure that top lines up. And then I'm going to lay it down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip over and so this is going to be the front cover. So now what I like to do is take, I have two different bone folders. This one has a sharper point. This is my scoring bone folder. So what I'm going to do is just run it along the edge to give it a little bit of a score so the paper's easier to fold. But when you get to this space, you're just going to skip over it. And then we're going to trim the corners at an angle. Getting my cutting mat and my craft knife. I use Martha Stewart craft knife. So what we're going to do, I'm going to zoom in so you can see better. So I line up my ruler. It's going to be at an angle, which I can't cut like that, so let me move that. So it's going to be at an angle, and you're going to want it to be 1/8 from the tip of this chipboard. So the 1/8 mark, if I can get it to focus, on Tim Holt's ruler is this little dotted line is the 1/8 mark. So you line it up with the 1/8 mark. Am I focused again? On the chipboard edge, and then you're just going to have this at an angle and trim off. So you're going to do that with all 4 of the corners. This piece might be longer, but that's fine. your angle will be a little bit more wonky, but it'll still work. Alright, next we're going to add tape. I'm zoomed in. Tape flush against the edges on the chipboard. And this is 3/8 inch tape that I'm using. And I'm skipping the sections between the spine. So I'm hopping over those. Now because the width of this is long, if you have 1/2 inch tape, that'll work too. And I call this section the overhang in the tutorial. And if I haven't mentioned it before, the tutorial is listed on my blog, www.webofcreativity.net, under the tutorial tab at the top. Okay. Now that it's taped up, remember we ran our bone folder along that edge. So when we pick this paper up, it should be a little bit easier to crease. And then you can run your bone folder over that edge again. So that's what I'm doing. You can also pick up the paper, the chipboard, and rock it a little bit. And when I run the bone folder, I skip over that area where the spine is, because that's the weak spot. And we don't want to rip the paper. Alright, so we're only going to do 2 sides first. So I'm going to do the 2 left and right sides first, and then we're going to tuck in the corners and do the top and bottoms. So let's remove some tape. Just fold that back a little and fold over. I'm going to turn my board around so I can get this side. I'm going to add some ink to my corners before I fold my corners in. Okay, so I said fold the corners in. I'm going to see if I can zoom in and stay focused. So I'm going to take the tip of the back side of my bone folder or you can use the front side, either way, or your fingernail or your ruler tip, and just push it in. So I'm tucking that corner in, so when this folds over, it's tucked in and doesn't stick out. So let me see if I can get this one. So tucking it in, just pushes it in. Yeah. If you have good fingernails, you know, you can use those. Alright, now that they're tucked in, we can fold the side. So I'm going to remove the last two areas to fold down. So it's going to be a little bit tight where you have the extra paper on that you overlapped your paper. So I'm going to run the bone folder, and again it's skipping that area that's weak. You don't want to run your bone folder in there and then it tear your paper. Okay, lastly, not lastly, but you want to, when you're folding your covers in, you want to push inwards so it folds into that crease and not out. If it goes out, it's like a little bit of a bubble. So you're just going to carefully push it in and then pull it up a little. And you're just going to carefully do that to get that paper to move. And there's the start of our album. Okay, next is the inside. We are going to work on the inside cover. So I have 3 sheets, 2 for the front and back, and then 1 for the middle. So what I did was I took the remainder piece from the front cover, was long enough for the spine area, and then I punched that scalloped edge along the both sides as I did for the front cover. And then I took the remainder of the blue from the strip and trimmed that down to fit. So we're going to go ahead and attach the front 2 covers. And I'm going to use my ATG for a little extra support. So I used a 1/2 inch tape all the way around the edges for this. And then I'm just going to take my ATG and just add a little extra for support. So for the back, I inked the edges. This is using Vintage Photo. So I inked the edges of this and the edges of the scalloped. So when you're attaching the front and back cover, you're going to have about a 1/8 inch all the way around for the top, bottom, and the edge. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. And I'm out of ATG. So the front's just the same, a 1/8 inch border from top, bottom, and edge. Now I already pre-taped this, but this I was going to show the spine area gets taped in a certain way so not to cover your opening. So I'm going to add tape a little more than 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom, but right along that edge, the spine edge. And you want to make sure it's pretty flush so you don't have any bubbles in your spine paper when you close your album. And I'm going to tape the opposite edge of the spine area. I'm using 1/4 inch tape. You can use bigger, but with my spine piece, I'm going to have tape on the inside and then tape on this. So I taped your spine paper with 1/4 inch so it doesn't double layer on the tape, which you can if you want to. I'm not adding any glue to the scallops, and then I taped the top and bottom. So I'm just going to run like I did in the center, not skipping. I'm skipping about 1/2 inch from the top and bottom. Alright, and I'll go ahead and zoom in so you can see that it's flush with the chipboard, and I left the space open where the book closes. Oops, wrong way. The reason I add all the tape to the spine is because that's the area that's holding your pages. So you want to make sure it's really secure. I'm eyeballing the center, but feel free to use your ruler. Probably should use the ruler. That looks good. Just checking to see if I had it crooked or not. So I'm gonna run my bone folder to make sure it sticks. And then when you're folding, you can always hold your hands where that gap is to make sure your paper goes inwards, because you don't want it to bubble out. Now when I said bubble, the reason why that tape is all the way up against that edge, because when you go and move this, if it's not all the way up, it's going to bubble in the area where there's no tape. So that tape has to be right on the edge of the chipboard where that gap is, just to make sure it doesn't bubble up. And I'm just stretching the paper out just a little bit to get that movement in there. Okay, that's the inside cover. For the page, because I'm using some very light colored cardstock, this is parchment, ivory parchment, I found this brown paper bag to help see better when putting it together. So we're going to build the page. So we have a couple of flaps, straps to hold down our flaps. And then we have a large tag for the side, and then a couple of pockets with our tags in them. So we have a short tag and then a longer tag. Let me put my paper clip back on here, holding it together. And let's get started. So we have our 4 flaps, and then our main page, and then the back pocket piece. So we need to score everything. And all the score measurements and the size of the paper is on the tutorial, which is on my blog. These are pretty simple scores. And I'm not good at scoring like that. I'm going to have to turn this sideways. Alright. So then we'll score all of our flaps. And then score our main page. And then our back page has multiple scores. So all the other ones only had 1. So always double check your measurements. Make sure you're scoring correctly. Alright. And then we have our 3 tags which don't get scored, and then our 2 straps. So we need to score those. And we're done with our scoring. So we'll take our flaps, and on the score line, we're just going to fold it back. I run my bone folder across the edge. And we're going to do that to all of them. Then we're going to taper the corners. Now, tapering is cutting from the score line at an angle. So we're just going to cut the corner off. And we're going to do that on all the corners. I'm using Tim Holtz scissors. And then we're going to add our tape. I'm using score tape, which is a two-sided tape. All right, all 4 of those are prepped. Then for our main page, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to fold on the score line. We're going to taper the corners. And then add tape. And before I work on the back page, I'm going to go ahead and just connect my main page together. So my main page has 2 tabs, one on one side, one on the other. So we're going to attach like so. So what I do is take, you want to make sure it's flush to the edge. So I'm going to take my tape off, hold it flush to the edge, lining it up, and then attaching. And then we're going to attach like that and turn it around. So then I make sure it lines up at the bottom. So that's our main page. So with our flaps that we made, I'm gonna go ahead and punch the bottom corners. I made these I rounded them, and they're 1/2 inch round. This is We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile. But there's other punches out there for 1/2 inch, or you can punch the edge if you want. If you punch the edge, you might want to make these flaps just a little bit bigger, depending on the size of your punch. One, two, three. So attaching, we're going to go ahead and attach the first one flush to the edge of the top, and then it'll be even on both sides. I do this upside down so I can see the edge when I attach it. If you notice, I do a lot of stuff upside down just so I can have good visual. So I'm lining it up flush with the edge, and then make sure that it's lined up on the sides before pressing down real good. The next one is going to be attached 1 inch from this fold line. So I take, the Tim Holtz ruler is the best. So I take it and line up this line, which leaves me 1 inch here, with the crease of the first one. So I know where my next flap's gonna go. It is hard to see because the paper is so light. Alright, moving on to the next one, and all of them are 1 inch apart. So they're all even. Last one. And if it is a little crooked, I touched this one a little crooked. I use my spatula to pick my piece up. It's from the Cricut. It's a Cricut spatula. I highly recommend one. Anything flat like that. A credit card might even work. I've never used one, a credit card, but you know, it could work. All right. And now they're all attached. And we can get our backside on. So with our back piece, one, we're going to go ahead and taper all the corners. I have some tape on my scissors. My paper keeps sticking to it. Okay, so then we tape our 4 corners. Now we have this score line. It's not quite in the middle of the paper, and it might be hard to see, but we have a score line, and we're gonna taper the corner. We're gonna make a corner, so we're gonna cut at an angle. Let me see if I have a pencil I can. So here's the score line, and then here is this score line. So we're going to cut it at an angle, like tapering the corner. And that makes, and then we have a notch. So we're going to do that to the other side. Hard to see on white. Okay, so for the bottom piece, we're going to fold the 2 bottom tabs inwards and add tape. And this piece is going to make our first pocket. So we're going to fold it on the score line and attach it down to make our pocket. I guess I can erase a little bit of that mark just in case it's seen. I don't think it will be seen, but we'll erase it. Okay, that's our one pocket. Then the remaining two tabs we're going to fold to the back side. And we're going to add tape to them. I'm cutting the angle off of my tape. So you're going to find the bottom of the page. So you're going to make sure that you have the bottom, because we're going to add a piece of tape to that. So you want to make sure it's not, you're not adding it to the wrong side. So I'm not going to tape the tabs down. So I'm going to make sure the tape is not touching the tabs, because I don't want to tape them down. Your tag won't slide properly if it's taped down. So I'm just going to tape it a little bit away from the tabs. Then this guy is going to attach at the bottom, flush to the bottom. Alright, so again, flush to the bottom. And there are our pockets. Next is our strap. Now with the strap, you can either you can either leave your corners straight like that and when you mat the page you can cover it, or you can punch the corners and not mat all the way up there. So because I'm not sure what I'm matting, I'm going to go ahead and punch those corners. It's not going to hurt it if I punch them and just cover over them if that's because I'm not sure, you know, might as well. Alright, these get taped opposite sides. So this one, the smallest tab that you have, is going to get taped on this side and then attach like so. So we're going to go ahead and add our tape. Alright. And then your long one is going to get taped on the opposite side as the small one. So for the small one, we're going to use, again, I like the Tim Holtz ruler because it tells you where the center of your page is. So we're going to line up your center So you can center this guy on the page, and again, flush with the bottom. Everything is flush. And then we're going to turn it upside down and attach it to the back side. So I'm going to fold it around. It might be a little tight. I'm going to use my bone folder to get that to go down. So there is my strap. And then I just get, you know, a decorative paper clip, or you can even add some Velcro or a magnet to that for a closure. There's our page. Then what's left is our tags. So I did pretty simple. All I'm doing is just punch in the corners. So your biggest tag gets the corners punched on the long side. And if you want to, you know, do a whole edge punch, you can do that. Or do a corner punch and just decorate it however you want. There's my little tag. So I'm only punching 2 corners on the other tags for the back side. And there we go. And that's our page. Next up is matting our page. Okay, it's time to mat the page. So we're going to mat the strap and then the front side first. So we got full-size mats for the front and back of each flap, and then this little area between the flaps, and then this big area at the back. So we're going to cut our mats. All the measurements are on the tutorial. So I've already cut all my mats out. I'm going to do this green for the front side, and the back side is going to be this yellow. Now when you have, when you're matting, we're going to go ahead and punch corners. If you're using directional paper, you're going to need to make sure you punch the right corners. So if it's the front flap, I punch the bottom 2 corners, and if it's the back side, it's the top 2 corners. So we're going to go ahead and get those punched. I'm using 1/2 inch corner rounder. This is we are memory keepers, but there's plenty of 1/2 inch corner rounders out there. So I'm just going to corner round the bottom 2 of each mat for the front of the flaps. And then the back of the flaps, we'll punch the top 2 corners. The strip in the middle, I did not punch. I'm just going to attach. And then the very last square, I'm not rounding any corners either, but you can feel free to do that. Alright. So next is inking all my pieces, and we're going to use Distress Ink Vintage Photo. This is, of course, an optional step. I've misplaced my craft sheet, so I'm using just a spare sheet of paper to catch all the little ink crumbs. Alright, once everything is inked, we're ready to attach. I'm going to attach, so there's it's going to be in the center, about 1/8 inch border all the way around. And I'm going to use my ATG gun, which is my advanced tape glider. This is just for purposes of the video to make this go a little bit faster than using my tape. But I suggest if you're going to, if your paper's going to last, to use some double-sided tape like score tape. Alright, now we'll do the underside. And we'll take one of our little strips and attach. Next, once all the flaps are covered, then you have your last piece. Okay, I did not mat the inside of the strip, which you can. So I'm only matted the outside. So I got my little pieces that I cut out, and then I'm going to corner punch with my 1/4 inch quarter puncher. So I just made it a little bit smaller. Now I do have directions on how to mat this full piece, or you can do the 3 pieces. Let me show you my first page. I have the 3 pieces, as the third one being the sticker from the sticker sheet. Gonna ink my pieces. And before I put away my ink, I'm going to get my sticker. I think I'm going to use a monkey. I'm just inking my monkey. I'm going to attach the monkey first, and he goes in the center. And this is where the Tim Holtz ruler comes in handy, because it has that center point. Oops. Okay, there we go. And then I'll have my 2 little pieces. Okay, and then big strip for the bottom. Okay. There we go. There's the front cover. Let's flip it over to the back, and I have cut up a strip from this sheet. Cut up a strip from this sheet, and then the middle section I'm going to use a sticker from the sticker sheet. I'm going to use the blue one that says the exact same thing right in the middle. So it's the only thing that I did not cut out. So let's go ahead and attach these guys. Just seeing where I want to attach. And then I do have another sticker I wanted to use. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Alright. I don't actually have a particular place where I put these as measurement wise. I just go off of what things I'm going to use. So for my first page, I put it kind of low and added a sticker onto a mat and put it down there. But I think I'm going to put it just a little bit higher on this one. So this isn't really, you know, measured too well. This one's just placed where it's best suited. And then the top two, I'm going to just put, that has a little bit of a measurement to it. And keep both of them the same place in those sections. So I'm going to measure about 1 inch from the top of the pocket. Wrong piece. Oops. My ruler keeps moving. Yeah, that's a good spot. And then I still need to cut my sticker. I'm going to measure and then just put a little, I think I'm just going to cut it, I don't think I want to measure it. I think I'm just going to cut it just a little bit, the saying out, and not the whole sticker. There we go. Add my ink. I think I'm still going to attach, I'm going to center it and attach it still 1 inch from the top of the pocket. On camera? I am on camera. Alright, there we go. Alright, don't mind me, I just dropped some stuff on the floor. Okay, then I'm going to add, he's going to need ink. Add some embellishments, chipboard and stickers. I'm just lightly embellishing when I first do my pages, and then once all my pages are matted, I'll go back and add my stickers to all the flaps and stuff like that. Okay, so I have this guy sticker. I'm going to put him right here, and then I'm going to add her here. She needs tape. Sorry about that. Yeah, chipboard elements get tape or really good adhesive because they're a little bit heavier than paper. I'm just taking the tape backing off of the chipboard. Alright. There we go. And then we can work on our tags. But what's going to cover this area is I cut out the little doll pieces. So I fussy cutted. So we got this little guy with his little hat. This girl with her little hat. So I'm going to put some pieces in the pockets, or maybe all the kids in the pockets, and the clothing on the hanger. Maybe get a second hanger for the hats. All right. Okay, and then we're gonna work on our tags. Now, for tags, I tend to like to mat all my pages before I mat my tags. So then I just use my spare pieces to mat my tags. Because if I do a full mat on all the tags and all the pages, I will definitely run out of paper. So that is my tip. So I took just some scraps and I'm going to punch the corners of my piece to attach on my tag. Now my first tags, I did just a partial piece at the top, and then this card that's on the paper collection along with this card, and then just added some extra little pieces. So for these tags, I'm going to do the same thing, except this tag is long ways instead of sideways. Vertical instead of horizontal. That's the word I was looking for. Alright. So with the piece, I'm still doing the 1/8 inch border. Touch him in the middle. There's our first tag, and then our second tag, I cut out the stamp pieces from the paper collection, and then wanted to give this a little bit of an extra border. So I'm going to attach this guy. See if I have my smaller tape. I do. I'm going to attach oops. I'm still going around that top corner. Okay. I do have measurements of how big these scrap pieces are that I'm using on my tutorial. If you want to do the same thing that I did. There are many ways to use your scrap pieces, and then use stickers and embellishments, or nothing at all, and just have the pictures be your embellishment. That looks cute. I'm going to go all the way over. Give that 1-inch border on that side. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to do about a 1/2 inch from the top. From the top. I will have in the tutorial all the tags that I have done. Pictures of all of them. All right. There we go. Those are some cute stamps. Okay, so we'll put this large guy in the back. And there we go. Maybe even hook the kids to the tag. There's our page. And the only thing left is our large tag. I might not mat him at all, or just add, I got plenty of stickers. Just add some stickers to it. We'll see what I have left over at the end. Okay, there is our second page, and then our first page. I'll just briefly go over it. Then I have this little girl cut out with her little clothes. I still got some more fussy cutting to do, but they're coming along. Alright, that's it for matting the pages. Next up is binding. For the binding, we take 3 pieces. This binding is called Stack the Deck, and it was created by Laura Dennison with Following the Paper Trail. and it happens to be my favorite binding method. So we take 3 pieces and we score them to make a tab. So we score and then we flip over to the other side and score again. And this is going to create us 2 tabs. Do that to all the pieces. I've already scored these. And then we're going to fold on the score line and add some tape. So we're going to fold on both sides. Folding the same direction. And then using a bone folder to get that good crease. And go ahead and do that to all 3 pieces. So we scored and folded all of them the same direction. And then we're going to taper the corners, which is cutting at an angle from the score line. So you have the score line and then cut at an angle. And we're going to do that to all 3 pieces. Now we're going to add tape. We're going to start with adding them on the tabs. Now when you add them on your tab, you're going to be flush with the edge. So you see that there's some space between the score tape and the score line. So you want that tape flush to that edge. You want some space between the tape and where the score line is going to be. And then when we get the one side taped, we're going to flip over and do the next side. Okay, now let's do our other 2 pieces. Tape on both sides of the tabs. When all the tabs are taped, we're going to flip over to the back. So the front that's the tabs facing upwards. So the back is then facing downwards, and we're going to add tape in between the score lines on all 3 pieces. I'm going to cut my angle off of my tape. So the goal is to get the tape in between the score lines and not to go over the score lines. And then you can use thicker tape. I've been using the 3/8 inch tape, so I'm going to switch to my 1/2 inch tape. And this is 1/4 inch tape. I have a variety. But use what you have. Again, get the tape in between those score lines. I'm going to run my bone folder over the tape just to make sure that it's good and stuck down. Alright, now we're going to attach them. So we're going to stack our pieces, starting with the largest one first, and then we'll stack the medium on top of it, and we're going to center it. Now you can use a ruler for your center mark. Tim Holtz is great for that because it has that center mark. Just lay it down, mark where it's going to go, and use those as a guideline to put them down, or you can eyeball it, which doesn't work for me very well. So remove the tape just from the back in between the score lines and leave the tape on the tabs. So I'm going to turn this so I can see it a little bit better, and we'll line it up on the bottom, flush to the bottom because they're all the same sizes. Give it a good press down. And then we'll stack our smallest piece on top of that. And that's all it takes. Alright, so now we have our 6 tabs to slide our pages onto. So next up is attaching this to the album. Alright, next we're going to attach our binding strip to our album. So what we want to do is we want it to be in the middle of the album. So you can use your ruler to figure out where your center is going to be. Put a couple of pencil marks on there before you attach it, and just to make sure that it is even in the middle. From top to bottom is about a 1/2 inch in, and then you have your sides. So just checking the spacing of it. Alright, so when we attach it, we want to take off all of the tape backing, again between the score lines, and leave the tabs still taped. just put it down gently just so I can check the spacing of it. And then when it looks even, press it down. Now this one, the binding, you definitely want to make sure that it is attached to the spine. So I take my bone folder and just run it in between my tabs, pressing down to give it a good stick. Alright, there we go. Now we can attach our pages. We're going to attach our first page. I'm just going to take some of the stuff out of the page. Okay, so we have our pocket that goes all the way through. So we're going to attach the tab to the left side of the pocket. I'm going to turn the album so I can get a better angle. So it just your page slides onto the tab. So it just slides right on there. A few things is, one, you don't want the page to go flush onto your album, or it's going to be hard to fold your pages over. So we want to leave a little bit of a gap, and that is why when we added the tape, we left space between the score line and the tape. So we made that tape flush to leave us that little bit of area, because the page doesn't go flush to the chipboard. Second, I'm only going to remove the top tab tape. On the other side, I'm going to just take a little bit of it and fold it. I'm going to give it a little bit of a crease. This way I have a little bit of wiggle room trying to get the page onto the tab. And then when it's good and in a good position, I can make sure to attach it. If both sides of the tape are off the tab, if the tape sticks to the back, there is no wiggling. You'll have to pry it out. Might be a problem. So the more you pry the tape, the less sticky it becomes. So you don't want to do that too often. You can do it once. Always have my trusty spatula next to me just in case I get it wrong. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a spot here so I can pull it, but only the front side. I'm going to take the tape off. So we're going to go ahead and open my page and slide it in. Going to make sure that it is even. So I have that in there, and then the back side looks really good, straight. So now, I used to not pull this little tab, have that. I think my last video I didn't, and I pried it with my craft knife. So if you don't have that little tab, you just pry it with your craft knife and get it out. It takes a few seconds. This way, I already have a little pull tab. And there I go. Page 1. Since we did page 2, I'm going to go ahead and just do that one more time. I'm just going to take everything out of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and attach a second page. So again, I'm going to go ahead and start with folding this little guy to give me a pull tab. And before I even start, I do like to slide it on there just to make sure there's no complications. Sometimes it gets stuck on something on the inside, or you might have made your page a little bit bigger or smaller. You know, I always check. Always check. Okay, so now I got my first one. I'm going to go ahead and slide the page on again. The back side looks really good. There we go. Now, I'm just going to open my pages and press down on where, just to get that page to good stick, is what I'm going to say. We want to just make sure the page is attached. It's not going anywhere. There we go. We got page 1 down. We got page 2 down. I'm probably going to post this before I finish all the pages. Before I decorate all the pages. But I will have a written tutorial on my blog. I'm going to go ahead and show you the decorated album at the end of this video as much as I can get decorated. There we go. That's how we attach our pages. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go through all the pages and the tags. So I've already did page 1 in the beginning of the video. And I still have to figure out how I want to decorate my tags. I like to wait until after I've matted all my pages and then just use my scraps for my tags. Alright, this is the Friends page. So we have all these different cultures. And then we got our clothes. And then we have our father-brother page. I still have to decorate. I have stickers and chipboard pieces. And then we got Dad and his little hats. And we have our little kid guy. And there we go. That's all I have done right now. If you like this project, please visit my blog and you can purchase the tutorial or a kit that goes with it. Alright. Thank you for watching.